Good morning. Welcome to First Church Unitarian here in Littleton, Massachusetts. My name is Lara Hoke, pronouns she, her, and I'm so happy and lucky to be the minister serving this incredible congregation. You people are fantastic. We are, as always, multi-platform here in the sanctuary, but also live streaming for people on YouTube and Zoom. Welcome to one and all. And apparently you remembered to set your clocks back an hour. We get that extra hour, which means I get to preach for an extra hour. I'm so excited. Yeah. Just a reminder that we welcome the sounds of children. So don't worry if children are making little noises, because we all make little noises, and we're just happy that you're here. We are better for your presence with us this morning. We cherish that you're here with us, and we hope to get to know you better over time. So please keep coming back. Today, I forgot to look. Today's lay pastoral minister is Linda Kaler. So if you're seeking some pastoral care, you can seek out Linda, or you can always talk to me, or one of our other lay pastoral ministers, Patty Sardella, David Butts, Ann Donald, or Jan Dustin. And I think with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jim for Community Matters.
Thank you, Reverend Laura. Good morning, First Church Unitarian. Welcome to everybody here in the sanctuary this morning, and welcome to everybody joining us via Zoom. My name is Jim Nehring, pronouns he, him. I have the privilege of serving on the church's standing committee and also the great joy of singing in the choir under the direction of our wonderful Molly Lozeau and in the company of some really fine musicians from whom I learn regularly. I'll be brief so as not to detract from Reverend Laura's 1 hour and 15-minute sermon this morning. Just a couple of highlights from our Community Matters, which I urge you all to take a peek at in the course of the day. One thing I especially want to highlight is the FCU Folk Festival, now in its third year, rapidly becoming a kind of a third big fundraiser for our church, along with the talent auction and the fair each year. It's going to be next Saturday at 7 p.m. You can get tickets from Patty Sardella. Patty, raise your hand, please. And also, I think Peter Ursuline has tickets too. Peter, raise your hand. And you can also go to the FCU website, and I haven't actually seen it, but I'm told there's a big thing there. You just hit that, and you can buy tickets there.
Yes, it will be streamed.
And it will be streamed, yes. So you can buy a streaming ticket. Is that right? Yes. Okay. Also, Thea has asked me to mention that we really need 2 volunteers for next Sunday's RE program. Thea will be away next week, and she needs 2 people to manage games for the kids. She said, don't try to find her in the midst of the service this morning. She'll be busy doing RE work, but instead send her an email and let her know that you can help out next Sunday. What am I forgetting? I think that's it. Please join us for refreshments after the service. Be a little careful in the crowded hallways back there for those of us who may have mobility challenges. Also, please silence your devices, and welcome to our sacred service.
Good morning. I call upon all people to make themselves conscious of their divinity within. Bring all light into the world. Light. Bring light. Let light shine onto everyone. The task will not be finished till everyone has reached the divine. Bring light to the poor, and bring more light to the rich, for they require it more than the poor. Bring light to the ignorant, and more light to the educated, for the vanities of the educated of our times are tremendous. Thus bring light to all, and leave the rest unto Brahman the infinite. There is the same pure light, an emission of divine being in the center of each. The equality and beauty of each central flame is the same. Come out into the universe of life. The words of Vivekananda at the Parliament of the World Religions in Chicago in 1893. Let us worship. I'd like to call Sierra up to light our chalice. And as Sierra lights the chalice, please join me in saying the words on our covenant. And they'll be on the screen. Love is the spirit of the church, and service its law. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another. And please join me in singing our opening hymn, number 178 in the gray hymnal, Raghupati. The words will also be on the screen. This was Mahatma Gandhi's favorite song. It speaks of peace between Hindus and Muslims. Please rise in body and or spirit.
All right, so this is the time for all ages. If there are children who want to come up front, you can, although I see we have a couple right up front. You might be wondering, why so many special things? We have special lights and special decorations, and we just sang a song that was in an unfamiliar language probably for you. It's because this is a service in honor of Diwali. Have you ever heard of Diwali? Yeah, Diwali, it is the biggest celebration in India. It's celebrated in other parts of the world too, but especially in India. And it comes from originally the Sanskrit word Deepavali, which means deep means light, and Vali means strings of. So the holiday name literally means strings of light. So what is Diwali? Well, next slide. Okay, great. So first of all, one thing that's really interesting about this holiday in India is that it is celebrated by 4 of the major religions. It is celebrated especially by the Hindus, which is the biggest religion in India. There are more than 1 billion Hindus. It's celebrated by the Sikhs in India, mostly. It's celebrated by Buddhists, and it's celebrated by Jains. It means something a little different for each of those, and I'll get into that in my homily. But it is fascinating that all of these major religions have found a way to celebrate it. But really, it's such a big and important holiday that really, if you're in India, you're going to, in some way, shape, or form, take part in Diwali. It's sort of like Christmas, but more unavoidable. So, next slide. So some of the things you'll see, in addition to lots of lights, you'll see in particular, these are called daya. They're little clay pots with lights. That's the most traditional form of light, but all sorts of lights. You'll see people with henna, which is sort of like a temporary tattoo. You can get yourself painted with henna decorations and designs. You'll see lots of strung flowers or garlands. Often you'll see the marigolds. And we have some permanent marigolds up here, thanks to Eleanor. Next slide. Fireworks everywhere in India. And Diwali is a harvest holiday. It comes around harvest season in the northern hemisphere. But it does last, it's usually celebrated for 5 days. This is fireworks above the Golden Temple, the holiest Sikh Gurdwara. And next slide. Fireworks and floating lights on the Ganges in Varanasi. So it's just got to be gorgeous to be there. Next slide. The most famous story that's associated with Diwali, especially for Hindus, is the Ramayana, which is an epic tale. It is a long, complicated, fascinating story, which I don't have the time to tell you. But the primary characters you'll see on the left, from left to right, Lakshman, and you'll see little Hanuman, the so-called monkey god, kneeling down. The blue person in the middle is Ram, or Rama, and to the right is Sita, Ram's consort. And they have to battle Ravana. He's pictured on the lower right, the multi-limbed, multi-headed, evil, powerful character. And they have to defeat him in order to free Sita and Ram. And it takes all hands on deck, and it takes some special heroism from Hanuman, who's my personal favorite avatar of God. There you see him on the upper right, flying with a Himalaya mountain. That's how big he can make himself when he's fighting. He's carrying the mountain because the fighting troops needed some medicine, and he didn't know which herbs to bring them, so he brought them the entire mountain. But it's a great story if you ever have a chance to see a movie of it, or a live production, better yet. Next slide. This is Sita and Ram returning from their years of exile, captured by Ravana. And you might see there's some flowers at their feet and some lights, and that's where the traditions come from them returning. Next slide. The other avatars of God that you'll see associated with Diwali, although this is a whole separate story, are Lakshmi, goddess Lakshmi, and the so-called elephant god Ganesh. And it's almost a whole separate thing, almost like, this isn't a perfect analogy, but for Christmas, the main story is the nativity stories about the birth of Jesus. But then you have a whole other set of stories about St. Nicholas or Santa Claus, right? So think of it that way. So you have the Ramayana, and then you have this whole other side note about Lakshmi and Ganesh. Lakshmi is the goddess of beauty, prosperity, wealth, and Ganesh is associated with removing obstacles, wisdom, knowledge, and also good luck. So they're both associated with good luck and wealth. So this is the kind of more fun, almost in some cases secular, non-religious part of the holiday, where people give each other gifts and people give each other sweets. So that's the other part of the holiday. I can't remember if there's a next slide. Next slide. Okay, that must be it. So, so you'll see up here in the decorations, in case you didn't notice, Ganesh, Lakshmi, there's Hanuman, little Ganesh is up here, just so you know what you're looking at. We have, with the floating candles, we also have some floating lotus blossoms, permanent lotus blossoms, and those stand for purity and enlightenment. So this is just the beginning of learning about this amazing holiday. And I don't know if you're like I am, you hope that someday you can go to India and experience it all. So thank you for listening.
morning. As you well know, this congregation is self-supporting. We rely on the generosity of our members and our friends for our ministries. Many share generously with their time and talent for the ministries of FCU. Now, if you are able, we ask that you share some of your treasure to support our ministries. For those in the sanctuary, please put any cash or checks into the plates as they come around. For virtual participants, you can go to our website, fculittle.org, and look for the yellow donate button in the upper right. There, you will see details for how to donate online. If you wish, you also could send a check to the church through the mail, if you wish, to the attention of the assistant treasurer. The offering will now be given and received in grateful appreciation. Please join with me in the words of our community response. May we be transformed by our giving, and may the world be transformed by our gifts.
Beloveds, I know that many of us are feeling a lot of anxiety about the election coming up this Tuesday. Today I want to offer you a time of perhaps prayer or meditation or sacred silence, a time to reflect, time to be comforted, time to feel soothed, time to feel prepared for what will be. I will share a few poems. To some of us, they will sound as prayers. And after each poem, I will sound our singing bowl, inviting you into some time of mindful breathing and sacred silence. Perhaps a time to say your own silent prayers or to say silently your own private hopes and wishes. So first, I would like to invite you to sit as comfortably as you can. And notice your spine. If possible, without forcing it, try to sit with your spine straight. Sometimes it helps to raise the shoulders and drop them to fall into a natural position. If it's possible for you without forcing it, have your feet on the ground, but notice in general your grounding, however you're sitting. Feel your grounding. The healing earth is holding you. If you wish, if you haven't already, if you wish, close your eyes. If that's not comfortable for you, I invite you to look ahead with an indefinite focus, perhaps at one of the candles or lights. If you wish, stretch where you are holding tension in your body, often your neck or shoulders. Settle in. You are among friends. Our first poem is by Alberto Rios, called We Are of a Tribe. We plant seeds in the ground and dreams in the sky, hoping that someday the roots of one will meet the upstretched limbs of the other. It has not happened yet. We share the sky, all of us, the whole world. Together, we are a tribe of eyes that look upward, even as we stand on uncertain ground. The earth beneath us moves, quiet and wild, its boundaries shifting, its muscles wavering. The dream of sky is indifferent to all of this, impervious to borders, fences, reservations. The sky is our common home, the place we all live. There we are in the world together. The dream of sky requires no passport. Blue will not be fenced. Blue will not be a crime. Look up. Stay a while. Let your breathing slow. Know that you always have a home here. Our second piece is by Mark Bellatini, called Election Promises. I hear the polls are going to be open on Tuesday, all day. Good. I certainly intend to go to them. I certainly invite you to go to them and vote too. But today I say the polls are not just open on Tuesday. I say they are open every day, every hour, even here, even now. I'm going to vote right now for the right to dream of a world where the word politics doesn't stop me in my tracks, and where the word honor still has a few good meanings left. I'm going to vote right now for the power of free people to actually be free, no matter who they are, no matter who has abandoned them, no matter who hates them. I actually am going to vote for love. I'm going to vote for truthfulness as the norm, not the exception. I'm going to vote for a world that doesn't vote for killing, control, and swagger. I'm going to vote for you. I'm going to vote for me, right now, right here, silently, but for real. Our final poem is by Carrie Newcomer. Somewhere, someone needs your help. Send love. It matters. If you can't get there yourself, then take a deep breath. Breathe in the weight of their troubles. Breathe out and send all those burdens into the light, where sorrows can be held with the most tender and infinite grace. Breathe in what you can do. Breathe out what you can't change. Spool out a thread of connection. Send courage and calm, for the nights can be long and filled with shadows. And sometimes terrible, unexpected waters will rise. Somewhere, someone needs help. Send love. It matters. Beloveds, as the Reverend Dr. Lara Solomon said, sometimes all you can do is the next right thing. And the next right thing won't be exactly the same for each person. What is comforting me in this time is that no matter what happens on Tuesday and the days that follow, we will keep doing what we already know how to do, caring for each other, resisting injustice, and working for liberation, and working to be spiritually mature. The intensity of each of these may need to change depending on world events, but the world will still need our presence and witness, no matter what. Beloveds, you are needed no matter what. Send love no matter what. Vote no matter what. The sky will still be blue, and you will have a home here no matter what. Blessed be, and amen. I invite you to open your eyes. I invite you to remain seated and sing hymn number 1 in the gray hymnal. The words will also be on the screens. May nothing evil cross this door. During our Time for All Ages, you learned, along with the kids, some of the basics about the holiday Diwali. And I noted that Diwali is celebrated by Sikhs, Jains, and some Buddhists, though our decorations today and my homily today are more reflective of Hindu traditions and secular aspects of the holiday too. Next slide, please. For Sikhs, Diwali is the celebration of the release from prison of their sixth guru, Guru Hargobind, in 1619. And this is an actual historic event. At the insistence of Guru Hargobind, who was a political prisoner, the Mughal emperor, Jahangir, freed 52 Hindu political prisoners with him. It's known as the Day of Liberation for Sikhs. So Sikhs light hundreds of lamps at the Golden Temple in addition to the fireworks. And this is one of their most sacred celebrations, marking the Guru's release and the release of the others. That is the Sikh Diwali tradition. Next slide. For Jains, Diwali marks the anniversary of Lord Mahavira's attainment of nirvana in 527 BCE, more than 2,500 years ago. Lord Mahavira was the last of the Jain Tirthankars, and Tirthankars are those who help others attain enlightenment after they've achieved it, similar to bodhisattvas in Buddhism. Jain celebrations of Diwali tend to be more subdued than the Hindu and even the Sikh ones. You might notice that Lord Mahavira looks similar to many depictions of the Buddha. One way to know that it's Mahavira is that he's usually depicted without any clothes. Next slide. And finally, for the Buddhists, Diwali is also celebrated in a somewhat understated way. For Buddhists, Diwali is known as the day that Emperor Ashoka converted to Buddhism. Emperor Ashoka was the first person to rule over the entire Indian subcontinent. It included even to the west, what is today Afghanistan and Pakistan, and to the east, what is today Bangladesh. As you might imagine, Ashoka was a pretty ruthless warrior, but he did indeed become drawn to the gentle religion of Buddhism. and was converted. And so for Diwali, some Buddhists, particularly in India, chant mantras and remember Ashoka. But today I'm going to focus the most on the Diwali of Hinduism, certainly making up the biggest number of Diwali celebrants. As you know, Hinduism is a huge religion with more than 1 billion Hindus, as I said. So as you might imagine, even the Hindu celebrations and traditions for Diwali change quite a bit from person to person and place to place. Perhaps the biggest, most obvious difference is between the way the Hindus celebrate Diwali in the north versus the way they celebrate it in the south of India. Next slide. The northern Indian Diwali tends to focus, and I mentioned this during the Time for All Ages, on the fairly familiar story from the Ramayana, the story of Ram and his consort Sita returning after their many years of exile, and Ram, along with his brother-in-law Lakshman and that so-called monkey god Hanuman and many others, have to do battle against the evil multi-headed Ravana, who had imprisoned Sita and eventually Ram. In northern India, for Diwali, sometimes effigies of the demon Ravana are burned. And in terms of the spiritual significance of this story, the lesson of Ram defeating Ravana with help is about good overcoming evil, and it's about knowledge overcoming ignorance. Ram is seen to embody divine qualities, whereas the villain Ravana embodies vices like anger and greed, and so on. So that's one straightforward spiritual interpretation of Diwali, good over evil, symbolized by the lights in the darkness, or knowledge over ignorance. Next slide. In southern India, the Hindu version of Diwali focuses on a different story, although it will sound somewhat familiar. It's a less known story to those of us in the Western world. So in the south, they focus on the story of Krishna defeating Narakasura. Narakasura, like Ravana, is another embodiment of evil. In Sanskrit, Nar means human, and Asura means demon. So Narakasura symbolizes the demon that can reside inside us, human beings, or the demon-like qualities of humanity. According to Hindu scriptures, Narakasura was the ruler of the city Pragyotishapura, which is a long name, but to break it down, Prag means former, Jyoti means light, Shah means forgetting, and Pura means body. So putting it all together, Pragyotishapura literally means formerly forgetting the light within. So Krishna and one of his wives, the warrior queen Satyabhama, ride in on Garuda, this bird-like creature, and they ultimately defeat Narakasura, so that we will not in the future forget the light within each of us. You'll notice once again that Lakshmi and Ganesh, although they're important figures when you celebrate Diwali, they don't factor into these more spiritual stories. They're more for that material side of Diwali, which goes along nicely with selling diyas and firecrackers and all the rest. So you'll see Lakshmi and Ganesh everywhere, but that's a more surface meaning to have prosperity and wealth and good fortune. The story of Ram's return from exile gets to that most basic message of Diwali, the triumph of the higher self over the lower self. But it's the story of Krishna over Narakasura, though a little less familiar, that hints in the deeper spiritual level of Diwali. And that is to remember, as we look at all the lights of the holiday, to remember the light within each of us, to remember our own inner light. It's this southern version of Diwali that gives us the deepest spiritual sense. We've discussed this a bit before when talking about Vedanta, the ancient Hindu philosophy. The idea is that each person has within them Atman, usually translated as soul, and that is synonymous, ultimately, with Brahman, the great divine oneness, the source of all in all. So remembering your inner light is remembering that you are divine. It's remembering that we're all divine. It is remembering that you are that. Next slide. But I noticed something about Diwali, all the versions of it, with all the variations between the faith traditions and even the different variations within Hinduism. What I noticed this year at Diwali, and my primary Unitarian Universalist appreciation of Diwali this year, is that always, ultimately, Diwali is about justice. It's about goodness winning out. When warriors for justice realize their interdependence and work together to defeat evil. You see this in both the primary Hindu stories for Diwali, with the triumph of Ram and the triumph of Krishna. I also noticed that Diwali is about liberation, as in the freeing of the Sikh guru Hargobind. And there's even pluralism in his insistence that the Hindu political prisoners be released as well. Diwali is about becoming a better person. It's about transformation, as when Emperor Ashoka becomes a Buddhist, becomes less violent. It's about helping others to come along with you to a higher level of living, as when the Jain's Lord Mahavira achieves enlightenment and decides to help others attain it as well. In this, we even see shades of equity and generosity. Justice, equity, transformation, pluralism, interdependence, generosity, the 6 Unitarian Universalist values, all there in the primary stories of Diwali. And love, which is at the center of our Unitarian Universalist values, is at the heart of many of these Diwali stories as well. This year at Diwali, falling as it does right before such an important election here in the United States, I draw some comfort from these stories. They're timeless, and they have timeless truths. Though sometimes it doesn't seem like it, most people are decent. Though sometimes it doesn't seem like it, most people know right from wrong. When people are honest with themselves, they know the difference between good and evil. How could they? How could we not know the difference? We are that. We have that inner light. Sometimes we just need a little reminder. Recently on social media, I've seen a wonderful quotation. I'm not sure what the source is. I've seen it attributed to different people. So I'll just share the words without attribution because the words are worth sharing. Next slide. These are those words. Treat everyone as if they are sacred until the sacred in them remembers. Treat everyone as if they are sacred until the sacred in them remembers. Although the actions of others can be shameful, as we have seen sometimes in this season, it's not helpful to shame others. It is helpful to remind people of who they are, remind them that they are that, remind them that they are sacred until the sacred in them remembers. When people truly remember that they are sacred, they won't be able to vote for evil. When people truly remember that they are sacred, they will not want their children, their grandchildren, or simply the beloved children of this nation or around the world to see an evil leader. They will not want beloved children to learn from evil role models, not if they are in touch with their sacred nature. The inner light is not just inside you, it's not just inside your neighbors, broadly defined, it's everywhere. How is it that most of us don't see it everywhere? As Swami Vivekananda puts it, At night, we look up and see the stars and think how beautiful they are. But during the day, the beauty of the stars isn't there. But the beautiful stars are always there, whether you see it in a particular moment or not. Whether you see beauty in the particular person in a particular moment or not. The inner light, Atman, is in each person and each creation, and Diwali reminds us, I am that, you are that. As Vivekananda says, I call upon all people to make themselves conscious of their divinity within. Bring all light into the world. Let light come unto everyone. The task will not be finished till everyone has reached the divine. You are not nothing. Don't let yourself be degraded. There is but one infinite force in the universe. I am that and you are that, not parts of it, but the whole of it. There is the same pure white light, an emission of the divine being in the center of each. Come out into the universe of light. May we always remember that divine light. May we help others to see it and remember it too. May our nation remember its inner light as well. May it be so. Happy Diwali. Our closing hymn is also in the gray hymnal, number 176, Daya Kardan Bhakti Ka. The translation is, please bestow upon us, O Supreme Soul, the gift of devotion, the gift of purity. Come in our meditation, reside in our eyes, come into dark hearts, arouse the supreme light. So I invite you to rise in body or spirit. If you're comfortable, you may hold hands, or if you prefer, touch shoulders or elbows or feet or whatever works for you. Or you can simply put up your hands and feel the energy between us and those who are with us online. Friends, may we remember our higher selves. May we remember the goodness within all. The beauty is there in moments when you see it and in moments when you don't. Remind others of their own sacred nature. Remind them of their own inner beauty and goodness. How can love fail? The long view, goodness will overcome. May it be so. Blessed be, and amen. Please be seated.
Ann, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, I can make you host.
Okay.
You're such a lovely host. Hello, Neela.
Hi. You haven't made me host yet. Hi, Neela.
It's us chickens again.
Yeah.
I thought we were going to ask whoever makes the announcements to say every time you're welcome to join us after the service for a post-service chat on Zoom. I never